I am successful. I look for and find opportunities where others see nothing. I am a lifetime learner. I am solution focused. I see only solutions. I am a solution. Welcome to the Be Transformed podcast. I'm the catalyst. My name is Lanre Olusola. And this is where we have conversations that are practical, that are mind transforming. And these conversations are specifically designed to empower you, to equip you to overcome the biggest challenges in your life. So, hey guys, whether you're dealing with fear, depression, whether you're dealing with lack of clarity, whether there's chaos in your life, or you're struggling with your relationship issues or your finances, whether you're struggling with your career, your business, whether you're even struggling with your identity, this is the right place to be. Together, we will work through it to transform your mind, to transform your life, to transform your career and your finances. We will move you from where you are to where you are designed to be, where you deserve to be, and where God has destined you to be. Today, we're diving into the topic, the hustling culture versus work-life balance. And my guest today is an integrative psychologist. She's a real estate project manager. She's a folk herbalist and founder of a digital apothecary business, namely Crown Therapy Apothecary. She's going to explain what all of that means. Yeah. The name is Senami Morris, and she holds a bachelor's in psychology from Butler University and a master's in spiritual psychology from Columbia University. She has been supporting orphans, vulnerable children, and those that are affected by HIV/AIDS since the age of 6 years old. Her career centers, around marginalized and underserved communities and creating a safe space that they can receive accessible, sovereign, and holistic care through psychological and spiritual services. So, welcome to my podcast, Senami. How are you today?
I am well. I am very well. I am so happy to be here. Thank you thank you for letting me be here. And that was a great introduction.
Fantastic. So all of that that we talked about, you talked about, apothecary, okay?
Hmm.
You talked about, being a herbalist. Please,
Yeah,
a folk herbalist. You did your masters in spiritual psychology, and then you did your majors, in your bachelor's in psychology. Please
right.
explain all that cocktail for me and why.
Yes. So I have always been interested in the why. Growing up, I've always asked people why they do the things they do, why they're interested in the things they're interested in. And I've always been into like the nitty-gritty patterns that you can see across life and nature. And so initially I didn't know that that was the human sciences field. It was only until I was like maybe like 14, 15 that I was able to gather that language. And from then I was like, okay, psychology is for me. That's done and dusted. And, going through the process of learning about psychology through traditional lenses, I realized that there was a gap between like how I was raised, raised between Nigeria and the US. There was a gap between the mental and the spiritual world. And so I was on a mission to figuring out what it looked like to integrate the spirit and the soul into mind body practices and mind body philosophies. Hence why I joined the SMBI program with Columbia University, and I got deep dive into all things mind, body, soul, spirit practices. And it was such an enlightening experience for me. So all of it is integrating, working with people, and trying to help them heal through difficult things.
Wow. I love that holistic approach to humanics. because we're systems, okay? And I like the fact that from when you were young, you've been aware of what you were curious about, and you pursued that. And how were you as a 9-year old, as a 10-year
Mhm.
old, as a 14-year old? How were you able to identify what was it that drew your attention? What was it that inspired your curiosity? Just for folk out there who
Mhm.
parents of 9-year olds or 10-year olds, 11-year olds, and 14-year olds, to be able to help them find that sweet spot that
Mhm.
helps them make the right choices as it pertains to their career choices. How were
Yeah.
you able to find that sweet spot?
Yeah. Honestly, I have to give gratitude to my parents first and foremost for allowing me to try many things, right? At the time, being younger, I just felt like, "Ugh, I'm tired. Why do I have to be on soccer team? Why do I have to be on softball team? Why do I have to be on all these different teams?" But engaging with people and seeing different interests and exploring those curiosities, I think they were able to pinpoint, and I was also able to illuminate like a gold thread between all of it, which is that I loved being around people. I loved asking people questions about themselves and the things that they're interested in. And I think that though I didn't have the language for it at such a young age, I just knew that anything health, wellness, anything getting into the mind of human beings and why they do the things that they do intrigued me. I was a child, my parents will always say this, where I zoned out a lot. I was deep, I was a deep thinker, I was deep in thought. So I think for parents, it's what's your child focusing on? What do they spend their time engrossed in? What do they spend their time thinking about? What do they spend their time doing? What do they enjoy? Um, and I think that even if it's the smallest thing of like playing outside in the dirt, like, oh, okay, they enjoy being close to the earth. At the age of 9, I didn't know that I would be interested in herbalism or that I would do some kind of farming internship. It was only till I was 22 that I realized, oh, I have a knack for this. So it's those things of just like nurturing your child's interests and allowing them to nurture their own interests as well. Um, yeah, have been the steps that have helped me get to where I am.
So
Mhm.
it's about allowing your children to explore. It's about allowing them to to have varied engagements and interactions, and that pathway will invariably lead you to find your interest and your passion. And if you follow that will bring you ultimately to your place. But I hear a paradox. You say that
Mhm.
you love being around people, right? But
Mhm.
you're a recluse. You're deeply introverted.
Yeah.
Just in the spirit of full disclosure, Senami is my very good friend's daughter. She's an introvert. She also interns with me. She has interest in people. She's a very curious mind. She's very, she lives in her own mind. How does that paradox work? You like to stay in your own space. You live
Mhm.
in your own head, but then you say that you love being around people. How does that work?
It's an interesting one. I think that's been one of the many challenges growing into myself is finding that balance between knowing what I like, which is I like being in the comfort of my own solitude, but then also being in a career and a trajectory where I interact with people constantly. Um, and it's been, and like you said, it's a paradox. It's interesting. I think what has shown up for me over time has been what does it look like to step into that version of myself that enjoys the energy of other people, and then also recharge by being in my own space and living in my world and using the information I gather from my experiences to build the world that I want to see. So it's been tough. I'm not gonna lie. My social battery capacity is low, but luckily I engage the people that I feel comfortable with and I have a really special connection with. And through those interactions, it allows me to trust myself to engage more intimately with people and to see the beauty and being more social. Lagos has changed. That has just been what it is. Lagos has been what has made me realize there's no how that you can be here and be a recluse and
Now,
still be successful.
Lagos is a
Yeah.
different ball game. So you are trying to create that delicate, harmonious dance and balance between self, others, me, work, and purpose. And that's the essence of the conversation that we're having today. And it's interesting for me that I'm having this conversation with you. I'm what? Am I Generation X, right? And you're what generation?
Millennial. I'm like a millennial zillennial.
Okay,
That's
you're
what they
between
say. Yeah.
millennials and Gen Z, so you represent the next generation that we need to hand over to, and we need to equip and empower and support to thrive and succeed. And so this is a very timely conversation because there's always been that conflict between our generation and your generation. And our generation is always pointing fingers at your generation, and your generation is always looking at us that do these guys really get it? Now,
Yeah.
and for me, it's important for us to create the bridge and the legacy that I believe that people in my generation, need to create is to transfer what works for us to you guys to understand your world, and to create that harmony between your world and our world. There are great things happening in your world. There are great things happening in our world. There are not so great things happening in your world. There's not so great things happening in our world. Is to keep that open growth mind, and that mindset to be able to exchange, and that's what this conversation is really, really all about. So we're going to dive into the topic, the hustling culture versus life balance. But before we get into the hustle and the bustle, because this is part of it, right? How do you define success? So, there's this book that I've been writing for ages. I've done the research for the last 10 years. I've identified the 50 secrets of the world's most successful people. Successful people don't hustle and bustle. They work really hard, but they're quite tactical and strategic. And identifying their secrets is very, very key to this conversation that we're having. Now, I haven't looked at those 50 secrets, right? You've teased out five that are key for you. If you could quickly in 5 minutes roll that out for us, what are those five fundamental principles or secrets that have worked for you, that whilst you've worked with your several clients over the years and you've seen successful people, you've seen it work for them, what will those five be, and quickly why in 5 minutes, if you could?
Yeah, sure. I've identified, this was a hard task, um, first and foremost. So, five that I was able to bring out were gratitude. And if you see me looking off to the sides, because that's where my notes are. Um, so, yes, gratitude specifically because it's a mindfulness practice and you get to look back at the resources and the things that have happened in your life and show a higher power, God, yourself, that you're appreciative of the work that you've done and the lead up to where you are at the moment. Two, health and wellness. I mean, we're talking about what it means to do work life balance and to embody that. That, I mean, you cannot be successful and not prioritize your health and wellness. Three, relationships and network. This one was one I was contemplating. How necessary is it? But honestly, truthfully, it is extremely powerful. If not all of the experiences I've had have been a suggestion away that my friend, my parent, my aunt, my uncle gave me that I listened to, that now brought me into this flow, this momentum of like bringing and honoring opportunities. So I would say that's definitely a top five. Next, commitment. I'm a very committed person, and the people around me have shown me what commitment looks like and what dedication is. It's doing the hard work when you don't want to do it. It's about putting your emotions aside and your feelings aside and getting the work done excellently. That's a tough thing to do, but when you cultivate that skill, it also influences health and wellness, relationships and networks. It influences your gratitude and your spiritual practice. And then I would say, lastly, it was between two: learning and development and emotional intelligence. So, learning and development, I'm a big believer in, the love of learning, and I'm a forever student. That's just who I am and where my strengths lie. So that will always be something that I engage in. And I think the most influential and inspiring people to me are people that know that there's always something to learn, no matter what age you are, no matter what experiences you've had, whether you're younger than somebody next to you, whether they're, CEO or they're a customer service worker. There's something to learn in every experience. And then the emotional intelligence part, I think that's a necessity for building relationships and building network and, understanding yourself and actualizing your goals. So I did give you a little bit of a six. The emotional intelligence is an asterisk, you
Hmm.
know. But yeah, those would be the top five for
Wow.
me.
Wow. Fantastic. So gratitude, which
Hmm.
speaks to mindfulness, health, and well-being. In fact, you pursue success and then you make money, then you use the money at the end of time to take care of your health. And so it wipes out all the success and all the money you've made. And then relationships and networks and commitment, learning and development, and ultimately emotional intelligence. And that brings me to your generation, Gen Z, millennials, and Generation Y,
Mm.
right? Commitment to hustling, right? They don't think about their health and well-being enough. They're struggling with emotional resilience. What is this thing about the hustling culture? What is going on? Where do you guys pick this up from? What is going on with you guys? And please break it down for me. What is that hustling culture all about? Where do you think your generation picked it up from? Why are they being driven by that concept of hustle, hustle, hustle?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. There are a couple things that came to mind. I think initially, a lot of us, when we were younger, saw our parents hustling. Our parents now are not in the same place that they were when we were younger, and that's due to putting in the hours, making sacrifices, and sacrifices looking like not showing up to baseball games, not showing up to, childhood activities, traveling for long periods of time, all because work and needing to provide for the family. And that's just not only in like, a male figure, but also in a female figure. So I think we just saw what it meant to hustle and what it takes and the sacrifices that unfortunately need to be made. And then also being instilled in us like you have to work hard to get the things you want in your life, told to us by society, by family. So I think it's a generational conversation, right? That hustle thread has been built into the fabric of society. Um, it just looks different, across generations and across nations. I think also what came to mind was the birth of side hustles. I think side hustles have been a double-edged sword in ways because, and maybe, I don't know if, I'm sure people won't totally agree with me when I say this, but I I believe that side hustles are can be kind of an escape
Hmm.
in ways, like because of the routine, the practices, the habits that it requires. When you have a side hustle, it means you have a main hustle, right? That main hustle could be a full-time job. It takes up most of the hours in your week. And then the remaining hours is what you dedicate to your side hustle. I know people that have multiple side hustles. I myself have like 3 side hustles. And so I'm also talking to myself. And I think it's this idea that to achieve success, you need to be doing multiple things. And because of the economy we live in, it's a very unstable economy. And there's money in places that you would not expect and haven't been in previous generations, like TikTok, Instagram, influencers. People are getting mad bar for posting pictures on Instagram and pictures that don't take too much time to create. So when you know that people are coming up on generational wealth, are buying their mom's new car, their parents' new homes, flying first class, business class because of posting pictures or having a side hustle, it makes you reevaluate your life. It makes you realize, so if people are doing this, me too, let me start posting on Instagram to see if this is where the cash cow is. This is where I'm going to come into my success. So the hustle culture, in short, is, I think, instilled in us from a young age, seeing our parents struggle, seeing our parents challenge themselves and challenge us to be better, to do better, to work harder, to work smarter, and to sacrifice. And then also the economy and the things that it values now, side hustles. They want you to work endless hours, overproductivity, lack of boundaries to be able to meet this idea of success that is temporary.
Hmm.
Um, but this is the world we live in currently. But it is a choice to participate or not. But
Wow.
there are sacrifices to that as well.
Wow. This is such a deep, profound conversation. So, very first thing is a learned behavior. As you were growing up, you observed. And it was told you, work hard, work hard, work hard. If you don't work hard, you'll be poor. You will not
Mm-hmm.
be able to fund for yourself. And then that's from family, that's from uncles, that's from aunties, that's from daddy, that's from mommy. And then you watch them hustle, hustle, hustle. They go out, they don't come home till late. They don't show up for your school events. Society also imprints that into your consciousness. But honestly, when we talk about hustling culture, you are saying that even though it looks different between your generation and our generation and our parents' generation, it's still the same concept of, it's being driven by the economics of it to be able to live the lifestyle you want to live, to be able to, buy the things that you want to buy. And also, you say that for you guys now, it's almost like an escape. For you guys is also based on comparing yourself with others that have found easy ways of making money. So it's become a lifestyle thing. So you look at other people and you look at their lifestyle and you think, how can that one be a TikToker? How can that one
Mm-hmm.
be an influencer? How can that one be posting pictures? How can that one go and eat in a restaurant, post the picture of the restaurant and is making money from it? There's easy money to be made.
Mm-hmm.
So there are lots of easy opportunities out there, right, to make money. So if you're doing those things, right, you guys just call it hustle, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just opportunities to make money might actually not be a hustle in the sense of what the language means, right? Laboring
Right.
and hustling and really sweating. So it's really multiple streams of income. Looking at how you can succeed, looking at how you can do multiple things, right? In an easy way, especially with technology, artificial intelligence, to be able to live the kind of lifestyle that you want to live. Now, looking at that, right, there's a good side of it and there's the toxic side of it, right? So having spoken about the good side of it, you want the good things of life. You want to be able to provide for yourself. You even want to be able to provide for your parents, and begin to save for your own children and the future, right? There's also the toxic end of it, right? So let's talk about the toxic end of it, right? What is the toxic end of it, and how does that affect? I mean, how does that affect your generation? If you want to speak from a personal perspective,
Yeah.
and weave that into what some other people in your generation are going through.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what first comes to mind is burnout culture,
Mm.
something that we cannot step over, sweep to the side, and is becoming more of a nuisance than before. The result of over hustling is burnout. What that looks like in my own life is um it's lack of boundaries, it's being exhausted mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so much so that you can't even engage in the things that you normally engage in that bring you joy. you know um it's being stressed, and that affects people's health. There have been times where I've been so stressed and so burnt out that my immune system has shut down, and I will be looking around like, where is this coming from? Why is this happening? I'll have like freak accidents because of burnout culture, and I'll have to go to the ER. And I'll just be thinking to myself, like, I'm a very put together person. I take my time. I'm quite intentional and careful. So why is this happening? Only to, when I really get into it, realize, like, oh, I'm managing a lot of things right now. I'm managing family, making sure that I'm regularly in touch with them. I'm managing work, making sure that I'm on top of my game there. I'm managing school at the same time, making sure that I'm on top of every single one of my courses and working overtime because I'm someone who, when people are taking summer break, no, I was in school. So those things of and not taking a break, like even just laying down is not enough. And I think that's why people get confused, and people like me will get confused. I'm sleeping 8 hours every day. Why is that not enough? Because you're overworking your system. You're overworking your system and you're not getting to the root of the problem. You're thinking it's a sleep issue. It's not. It's not. And I think the really insidious part about the toxic aspect of hustle culture is that um and I know these are going to be like buzzwords, right? You know, patriarchy and capitalism really feed those habits. They want you to work for them for the rest of your life. They want you to feed back into that cycle of overworking, of not having boundaries, of not taking your time for vacations, of only taking 2 weeks off of work in a whole year, of not having maternity leave, of not even having paternity leave. Like all these things are designed to keep us in hustle culture, which then, in a toxic way, leads to burnout culture, which has an effect on our emotional well-being, our mental well-being, and our spiritual connections. As you mentioned earlier, like I studied spiritual psychology, so a lot of the work that we did was doing research around spirituality and psychological distress. And really, what was one of the most profound things I took away from my 2-year program was understanding that spirituality is a protective factor against psychological distress, which means that those who engage in spiritual practices, prayer, meditation, yoga, it can even be like oracle cards, astrology. It can be anything really, like anything that brings your relationship closer to God on a personal level. Those things, those habits, those practices, they reduce depression, they reduce anxiety, they reduce PTSD. They have a huge domino effect on overall well-being. And burnout culture doesn't allow for spiritual integration. Hustle culture on its toxic end doesn't allow for spiritual awareness and spiritual awakening. And that's something that is only just as of recently becoming a topic in discussions of what does it mean to interact spiritually with yourself and with a higher power and outside of religion, because as we know, religion is separate from spirituality. So yeah, those are just a couple things that I have noticed have been popping up over the course of time in my own personal life, and also conversations that I've had with people in, in my generation. And yeah, it's so ingrained in the culture. It's so ingrained in capitalism, so ingrained in patriarchy to do, to achieve, to not let, money out on the table, get yours, get what's yours, like that very toxic culture,
Oh,
and it's problematic.
wow, this is quite interesting because you are describing two worlds. So you've so eloquently described an externally driven world where it's patriarchal, is capitalist. It's about what you can get. It's even become a nuisance factor. It destroys everything within you, it destroys your mental health, your emotional health, and then it breaks you down, right?
Yeah.
It's about pursuing what is out there. It's about wanting what is out there. It's about being driven by what is out there. It's about multitasking. Oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing. So it's about having. You are you
Yeah.
are you are living to have, and you are doing to have,
Hmm.
and that is the hustle culture
Hmm.
that creates massive burnout that
Right.
destroys you within,
Hmm.
simply because you have abandoned living from within.
Hmm.
And so it's the hustling culture versus what you call work-life balance. I call it work harmony, life harmony, right? Now, how, I mean, we've begun to touch on how you can attain harmony.
Right.
And one of the things you've talked about is pursuit of spirituality, not religion. So a religion is also being driven by an external big God that lives in heaven and aspiring to attain. But spirituality is looking within,
Yeah.
checking in within. And is that what you mean by the ability to find harmony and balance? If you want to speak to that, what does harmony look like?
Yeah.
What does being internally driven, what does it look like, and how can that help you create harmony between the things you do, which sometimes are important, your
Hmm.
aspirations in life, which are important, your goals in life, which are important,
Hmm.
and your work. How do you create that harmony between aspiring, doing the things you need to do to succeed, and then also ensuring that you do not break down internally and you feed yourself, you nurture yourself, you give yourself soul and spirit food so that the spirit
Yeah.
that you are, the soul that you have, and the body that is the container is in a sense in harmony. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how do you ensure that you make that happen?
Right. So, I mean, there's no set formula that I would give that works for every single person. Because everybody's priorities are different depending on what era and phase of life that they're in. And I think that that's important to understand because sometimes you can feel bad that you're not prioritizing your wellness in a specific way, but it's because you literally just gave birth like a month ago. So, what does it look like realistically to be in harmony at that period of time? So, again, like it depends on the phase of life that you're in, but I think generally it feels like the harmony feels like congruence. It feels like a resonance across all of these, spheres that we've touched on: the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul. And it looks like being satisfied in the energy you put into your professional and your personal life and the results that they yield. So, what that looks like in practice is you have to do an audit. You have to do an audit. You have to sit down with yourself and be very, very honest about what your circumstances are. Where are you living currently? What is being prioritized? What do you need to be able to prioritize the things you want to prioritize? What are you neglecting? These are the types of questions that you have to ask yourself. Where do I see myself going? What's the next phase that I want to tap into? What am I leaving behind? What do I want to embrace? What type of connections do I want to have? How do I want them to make me feel? What type of opportunities am I looking for? And this is not just professionally. And I think ways about going into that look like, for me, managing my time. And what managing my time means is creating time to answer these questions. So it's like, okay, at the end of the day, I'm tired. I've spent most of the day prioritizing other people's work, right? Now I'm at a space where I'm like, okay, I want to start feeding myself, giving back the energy that I have back into myself. It looks like creating intentional breaks throughout the day so that by the end of the day, you actually have energy to give back into yourself. It looks like play also, work life balance or work harmony, life harmony. You have to incorporate creativity. You have to incorporate play. You have to incorporate curiosity and new experiences. I think also just deep and satisfying rest are ways that I um try to really get my nervous system into that space of allowance and receptivity, to really get answers to these questions that are necessary. So, and then, I mean, we got to talk about food. Food is so important. Anyone that knows me is like, this one is always talking about food. This one is always talking about sleep. And it's true. It's true. It's so necessary. What are your regular nutritious meals? Do they feed you? We were talking about soul food and we're talking about spirit food. Now we're talking about like body food. Though all of these things are not just to be like, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, I'm checking off the rings in my Apple Watch. No, it actually has a energetic and cellular effect on your being on a daily level. So you have to check in. You have to do the audit. You have to ask yourself these questions. You have to prioritize these things. You have to create time for these things. Otherwise, if you don't create the time, you're never going to have the time. So you have to be honest with yourself about where you are and what you want to prioritize in order to create this life that you see for yourself, working in balance and harmony.
I like that. So I think it was Socrates that says that a life that is not audited is not worth living. We've
Mhm.
got to audit our lives, and as life coaches, we look at it from the 12 dimensions of life. The 12 dimensions of your life fall under four critical categories: spirit, soul, and mind, body, and environment. And you have to prioritize self. You have to choose self. You have to look at your health and well being, and you have to prioritize it and set goals around it, short, medium, and long term. You have to prioritize your fun, recreation, and rest. You talked about sleep, right? In your health and well being, how you eat, what time you eat, and how what you eat goes with you, energizes you, nurtures you, and how some of the things that you eat don't work well for you. You've got to
Mhm.
prioritize relationships and networks, right?
Right.
Likewise, your intimate relationships, because no man is an island. We all need each other. You've got to prioritize your career and your
Mm-hmm.
work or your business. You also need to prioritize your mental state, your self-worth, your self-esteem, your self-belief, your self-confidence. You've got to prioritize your sense of safety, security, and spirituality. That is so, so, so
Yeah.
critical. You also have to prioritize your finances.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to look at your life holistically,
Mm-hmm.
and each year, right, you've got to look at what you need to start doing, what you need to stop doing, and the things that worked for you the previous years that you need to continue doing. It's about looking at life as a journey. You can never finish everything you want to achieve in a day. Neither can you
Right.
finish everything you want to achieve in a week. You need a
Mhm.
lifetime. That's why you are given
Right.
a lifetime. And it's to understand that life is a lifelong journey for as long as you live for. It is not how long you live, it's about how well you live. So, how do you how do you work out the quality of your life? Redefine what the quality of your life looks like, and design your life based on what quality life looks like to you. It's not about what quality life looks like to others. It's
Right.
what a quality life looks like to me, and
Right.
ensuring that I design my life and I live my life the best way it works for me. Now, stress, interestingly, right, is at the heart of 95% of all disease.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, stress. And stress is based on what happens around you, how you internalize
Mm.
it, the meaning you give to it, and how you allow it to affect and infect you. So watch out, guys. 95%
Yeah.
disease is
Mm-hmm.
caused by stress. And 100% of stress is caused by our wrong beliefs, our wrong emotions, our wrong perceptions, and the
Mm-hmm.
choices that we make. So 95% of disease happens by you, not to you. You create 95% of your disease.
Mm.
5% of disease is genetic. 95% can be avoided. The
Yeah.
WHO says that 85% of disease is stress related and can be avoided.
That's
So,
huge.
yeah, it's really, really huge. So, this is a note of warning, right? Design
Mm-hmm.
your life in a way that it serves you. It's your
Mm-hmm.
life, right?
Yeah.
Don't feel you are compelled to live your life the way other people live it. So, the
Mm-hmm.
choices that you make, the decisions you make, the lifestyle that you follow, food, sleep, rest. I often say to people, right, if you do not sleep now, you will go into memory sleep later. What do I mean? They've now found out that one of the most powerful causes of Alzheimer's and dementia in your latter years is lack of sleep. But now you are saying, let me clock the hours, let me sleep less. It's lazy people that sleep. Well,
Right.
clock all the hours you like, but in your latter
Mm.
years, you will not even remember of what importance is and what use is that. You will not even
Yeah.
remember your account number. You will not even remember
Mhm.
how many zeros you've got behind your million.
Yeah.
You will not even be able to spend it. So
Yeah.
you've got to invest in your life, short, medium, long term. Look, just as you're not going to be able to withdraw any money in your retirement if you
Mhm.
don't invest any money today, you're not going to be able to reap the harvest of a good health if you do not invest today. Sleeping well, eating right, exercising, meditating, prioritizing those things that feed your
Right.
spirit, your soul is as
Yeah.
important as prioritizing those things that feed your body and ensuring that you create a psychologically and emotionally safe space and a physically safe space for us. I want us to end this conversation around the concept of, they talk about your generation soft life,
My
and
people.
yeah, your people's soft life, and then we'll wrap up with, this new digital and social world that you guys are living in. How do you
Yeah.
incorporate that into this reality that we're speaking about? Life
Yeah.
harmony, prioritizing yourself, choosing yourself, because screen time also causes its own problem. Anxiety comes from social, digital media, and all of that, right? So let's talk about soft life first, right?
Yeah.
What kind of lifestyle is that? What do you guys mean by soft life, and what are the pitfalls of embracing full soft life, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I want to first off first off say that I'm not against soft life living. I'm not against it. I don't hold anybody and say don't do. So funny enough, I think I was previously against it because I was just like, I don't know. I just had, and then I guess we'll start with the pitfalls actually. Well, let's start with the pitfalls and then start with the what it is. So the pitfalls of like focusing on soft life are consumerism. So when people think about, oh, what does it mean to live a soft life? People often think like, oh, buying what you want, acquiring what you want, taking those first class, business class trips to
yeah,
Maldives.
even PJ.
Yes, PJ picks, like all of these really luxurious 1% lifestyle, things. That's what people think when they think soft life because of digital media, social media, trends, and all that stuff. But I think a more sustainable soft life is one that prioritizes minimizing stress. We talked a lot about the implications of stress. Stress leads to death of spirit, of mind, of body. So, what does it look like to minimize stress? That's a soft life, okay? Uh, Rejecting toxic hustle culture slash burnout culture. That's soft life. That's soft life right there. You know, also being able to set boundaries, firm boundaries that contribute to your growth and the care of others around you. That's soft life. I feel like anything that reduces tension and reduces stress in a realistic way is soft life. Like, because when you think about, okay, PJ picks, social media, like consumerism, you're like, oh, this thing or this clothing brand or whatever means that they're able to achieve these things with a seamless effort. I think that's really what soft life is are you doing things with a seamless effort? Something that seems like you're just taking your time, you're being intentional, you're being sustainable. And none of those things have to do with, consumerism, truth be told. So just a little bit of a thing there. Um yeah, that's what I have to say about soft life. I think I'm trying to figure out what that looks like these days
I like
though.
they are sitting on the fence, but it's good. It's,
Yeah.
it's good. Honestly, I like the fact that we're
Hmm.
redefining what soft life is.
Yeah.
I am not against soft life because, I work really hard. I work really smart,
Yeah.
but I live a holistic life. Okay.
Hmm.
Fun, recreation, rest, sleep is very important to me. Travel is very, very important to me.
Right.
Ensuring that I am in full command of my spirit, my soul, my body, and everything that plays out in my environment, right? I am
Right.
in full command of it. That for me is soft life. I am
Yeah.
calm. I'm always at peace.
Yes.
My aura is I carry the aura of calmness and peace. That
Yes.
soft life. You see, if you and that is working from within. We're going
Mm-hmm.
back to living from within and controlling things from within. As you are within, so you create outside of you. Now,
Yeah.
if everything that is driving up or you are pointing to is external, that's hard life.
Very hard.
That's hard life. So if it's about that PJ and the things that you
Mm-hmm.
have to do and sacrifice and compromise to fly in a PJ, that's hard life.
Mm-hmm.
If it's about carrying that Hermes bag or that LV bag, and I'm not saying nobody should carry it,
Mm-hmm.
saying is what do you have to do, right? What do you
Mm-hmm.
have to compromise to do it? That's hard life, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you post the pictures, you are creating a perception of as if it came easy. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those things don't come easy. If
Nope.
you begin to think about the people that even do Yahoo Yahoo, Yahoo
Mm-hmm.
Yahoo is tough. Do you know what it takes to do Yahoo Yahoo? It's tough. Requires commitment, requires diligence, requires dedication, requires consistency, hard work. Before you hit one maga, do you know how many people you have sent email to? And if you are doing Yahoo Yahoo Plus, do you know how many people that they would have killed and sacrificed?
Yeah.
And a lot of
Yeah.
those things, the spiritual turmoil, the mental
Yes.
turmoil, the emotional turmoil, what it turns you into. It's not soft life. It's
No.
a hard guy that can go and cut a woman's private part and go and give it to one baba in the bush. That's a hard man. It's not a
Yeah.
soft life. Oh.
That's
So,
all.
so the pictures look like soft life, but the
Mm-hmm.
things they have to do, to be able to post those pictures, is
Mm-hmm.
turn them into hard people. So,
Yes.
so don't be deceived, honestly, by what you see out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't be deceived by a lot of the things you see out there. Think deep. And like
Yes.
we said, design your own life the way you want
Yes.
to live it. Honestly, the truth of the matter is I've come to the conclusion and I've seen it. I've seen it. I've worked with the richest, the wealthiest. I've seen it. You will not take $1 away from this world. You are not going to take one bag away from this world. You are not going to take one necklace away from this world. When you die, you are leaving everything here.
Yep.
What does it profit a man to gain the whole world when he's here and lose his soul in eternity?
Yeah.
You've got to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
How am I losing my soul? How am
Mm-hmm.
I losing my humanity? This decision that I'm about to make, how does it cause me to lose my humanity? How does it cause me to lose my soul? How does it
Yes.
cause me, to provoke my spirit? Is this really me? Why am I doing this? The reason why you do what you do is more important than what you do. So
Mhm.
Senami, in closing, this
Yeah.
digital influence, this era of social
Yes.
media, this era of freelancing,
Yes.
working remotely,
Mm-hmm.
where there's no boundaries of working hours.
Right.
Once you start to work remotely, once you get into that cycle for young professionals,
Yes.
your generation, I mean, you are a cross between millennials and Gen Z. What
Mm-hmm.
kind of advice as a psychologist,
Right.
as a therapist, as a spiritual psychologist, what kind of advice do you want to give your folk out there, in creating harmony? Because, a lot of us now live in that virtual world, and the
Yes.
amount of screen time we spend is uncanny. What's its effect on you spiritually, mind wise, physically, on your health, and
Mm-hmm.
you do to ensure that you don't get into that trap, if you can wrap up with that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge, huge question, right? And it's one that we are currently in the thick of it, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight or a solution in sight. So we're really, and by we, I mean myself and, the people that I talk to about this, usually in my generation, we're really in this space of like, kind of like a F around and find out type of thing, you know, where it's like we are trying a bunch of different tactics, a bunch of different habits, whether it be minimizing screen time, which looks like setting alarms on your phone. So one of the things that my friends complain about with me is that I am a DND warrior. Have you heard that term before?
No?
Yes. So it means that my phone is constantly on do not disturb, which means that if they want to reach me, they'll have to reach out twice before they will actually get me. Oh, wow. And so
Wow, interesting. I like that.
that's too good.
That's your generation, right? Giving you your
I'm
flowers, as in, wow.
see. So, I think there are a lot of skills that we can tap into these days of like, it is important to turn your phone off from notifications. Don't allow notifications to reach you on all the social medias. Create different, and Apple phones have this, I believe Samsung phones have this as well, or Android phones, where you get to create different, like almost like a different phone for a different purpose. So there's like a focus mode, there's a mindfulness mode, there's a work mode, there's a do not disturb mode. I spend my time curating those modes and putting time frames to them. So once 8 p.m. knacks, is going to sleep mode, which means only a certain group of people are able to reach me at this time. So, doing practical, tangible things that utilize your phone, because we all live in a space where we have a phone. We have an Apple product or an Android product or a smart product. So, why not use it for your productivity? Use it for your greatest good. So those are, more practical ways that I would recommend in this digital era to maintaining balance and maintaining a thriving way of living. I think one of the biggest things that has been difficult for my generation is building a community and building stability and building connection between, like, amongst each other, being in this digital world, because I think it's becoming to be real, more real than previously, that digital connections don't have a they don't have a real life connotation. So someone that you could be talking to, gisting with on Instagram regularly, when you see them in real time, why don't you guys make eye contact and greet each other? That's like real issues that we deal with as a generation. Is someone that you feel close to that has told you so many things. You see them in public and you don't greet them, you don't make eye contact with them. And Lagos girls are so fond of this thing. It's so interesting. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And a lot of my friends and I are trying to figure out, guys, where are we moving to? Because we can't keep on building relationships through digital means. Because it doesn't give us the satisfaction. It doesn't actually build tangible worlds for us outside of the digital world. And so, what does it look like to schedule, you know, what does it look like to schedule each other into each other's lives, right? What does it look like to have these conversations? And I think what has worked for my group, and maybe this is something that everyone can try, is scheduling co-working time. If you spend most of your time working and you have like a remote job or you have a freelancing job and your friends do as well, tap in. create a 2 hour period where you guys are working simultaneously, even in different time zones, building connection, building your individual lives, but building it together and having these conversations. So these are practices that I engage with my friends, where we'll just hop on a 2 hour call and we'll be working on our own separate stuff, taxes, client work. We'll be working on our life audits together, separately or digitally, and it does wonders for us in this day and age. But it's tough to figure out, how do we get back what our parents and our grandparents had in this time. It's almost impossible to visualize,
Wow.
but it's worth the work.
Thank you very much. I guess we've come full circle,
Yeah.
talking about the benefits in our own generation and the generation before us, and the benefits in your generation, and how we can create a hybrid and a good harmony. We need human contact
Mm-hmm.
every day. There is absolutely no way that digital contact will release, um, you know, um, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins into your system. You need those happy hormones on a daily
Yes.
basis to keep those negative biochemicals like adrenaline, cortisol that are released from digital presence, right?
Right.
Keeping them balanced, right? So you need human connection. You need to build relationships. You need to look people in the eye. You need human touch. You need the hug.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very important. You cannot survive without love. Artificial intelligence can never give that to you, right?
Right.
You need it. You need it. You need it. Wow. Thank you very much, Senami, for your wealth of wisdom. Thank you, listeners out there, for joining us on
Yes.
this Be Transformed podcast. Remember that transformation begins with a renewed mindset, and we hope that this conversation is provoked you to begin to think differently. And
Right.
you find great value in today's conversation with Senami. Don't just keep it to yourself. Don't just be the only
Yes.
one that hears it, right? Invite someone to subscribe to my YouTube. Let them go watch it, share it with someone, catch it on audio or Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen, and keep listening. It takes 17 listens for you to embed every single thing that is in a message in your system and for you to begin to practice it. On that note, I want to challenge you to keep transforming lives, one episode, one mind, and one life at a time. Shalom. Thank you for tuning in. See you
Thank you
again
all. Bye.
next. Bye bye. I am successful. I look for and find opportunities where others see nothing. I am a lifetime learner. I am solution focused. I see only solutions. I am a solution.